Hi guys, welcome back. On this lesson, we're going to be talking about determining the central message. This comes up a lot in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. When we read stories like fables or folktales, they often teach a moral or a lesson. We're going to be reading The Taste of Banzo's Sword. In here, you're going to have some words that you'll want to know. Those words are beam, swipe, tournament, ritual, thrust, and clutch. So let's look at our big question number 2. What lesson can we learn from Matajaro's experience as a kendo student? And do you think Banzo is a good teacher? So let's get started.
Ready for our first read? It's important to read every sentence carefully. It's a big job, but don't worry, we'll do it together. I'll send you messages, and by the time we're done, you'll be an expert on this text. Let's go.
We got this. The Taste of Banzo's Sword, a Japanese tale, retold by Kate Walker.
Matajuro Yagyu had one dream, to be a famous kendo sword master, as famous as his father, who was known throughout all Japan. At an early age, Matajuro entered his father's school and began the hard daily kendo training. After several months, his father said, "Matajuro, come, walk with me in the garden."
I want you to stop and think. What possibly could they do in the garden? Make a prediction. Okay, let's see if you're correct.
Matajuro walked proudly at his father's side. "You have studied hard at kendo," his father said, "and practiced many hours each." "Thank you," Matajuro beamed.
Now look at the word beam that's highlighted. Thank you. If someone tells you that they are proud of you and you beam, that means you're going to be smiling and very, very excited.
"And practiced many hours each day." It was true. Matajuro had practiced very hard. "But in all kindness," said his father, "I must tell you that you have no skill for sword fighting.
Oh no.
Take up poetry. Poetry is a great and gentlemanly art."
Now, think about your prediction. If you knew that he was following in his famous father's footstep as a sword master, and he's telling his son that he studied so hard, and he's saying thank you and happy, and now he says, basically, you're not doing a good job. You should be a poet. How do you think that Matajuro feels about that?
"But," Matajuro stopped short, "I don't want to be a poet. I want to be a sword master." "That can never be." His father frowned gravely and walked on.
Oh, how sad for him.
Matajuro caught up. "I'll practice more, I promise, and try harder." "You already tried too hard," said his father. "You leap about like your kimono is on fire. That is not kendo." "I'll take more lessons," Matajuro said. "No," said his father. "Harder lessons." At the beginning of the story, we meet Matajuro Yagyu, a boy who dreams of being a famous kendo swordmaster. One day, Matajuro goes for a walk with his father, and he's feeling pretty good.
Yep.
The author says Matajuro walked proudly at his father's side. Why does Matajuro feel proud?
So why does he feel proud? Remember, good readers are always going to reread and go back into the text. Matajuro has become a master at kendo. Matajuro has been practicing hard to become a sword master. Or Matajuro's father has said that he is proud of his son's hard work. Okay, so let's go back up. At an early age, Matajuro entered his father's school and began the hard daily training. After several months, his father said to go walk with him in the garden, and he walked proudly. So if I look at here, I know that I just read that he's been practicing hard at being a sword master. Let's see if we're right.
Smarticus!
Yes.
Select the text that best shows what Matajuro's father thinks of his son's skill at kendo.
Okay. Remember, we talked about that in our first read. What does the father think of his son's skill? So we're going to highlight the correct sentence. You've studied hard. Thank you. Practiced many hours. But in all kindness, I must tell you that you have no skill for sword fighting. Let's remember that, but let's keep going and see if we can find more text. Take up poetry. Poetry is a good art, but I don't want to. That can never be. I think what they're asking us, what does he think of his son's skill? Says, I must tell you that you have no skill for sword fighting. So let's click on that because that's telling us that the dad doesn't think that his son is good enough at it.
You get it.
Yes.
But Manajuro doesn't like his father's idea. He says, I don't want to be a poet. I want to be a sword master. I don't blame Manajuro for being upset. Do you?
No.
How would you feel if someone told you that you couldn't do something that you dreamed of doing?
Okay, so here's where we're going to use our sentence framing. You're going to write this on paper. If someone told me I couldn't do something that I dreamed of doing, I would feel blank because blank. We're really looking at taking words from the question and restating that into a statement. That's the R in our race strategy. And so we're going to take those words, but then we're going to add those details. So if the question is, how would you feel if someone told you that you couldn't do something that you dreamed of doing? You would take words from those questions. If someone told me I couldn't do something that I dreamed of doing, we're not just going to say, I would feel discouraged. I would feel down. I would feel sad. We need to give a because, whether the because is actually that linking word in your sentence, or if you're using that to help you start your new sentence and answer the prompt. So great job.